Every day starts new. In homes and businesses around the world, once useful packaging and several old things are deemed waste. It's a routine part of our lives. We discard them and toss them into bins without a second thought about the journey they're about to undertake or where they'll end up. But dustbins isn't some magical place where things simply disappear without a trace. A landfill is where they likely end up. A vast excavated landscape where our rubbish is buried, compacted and finally forgotten. Globally, we generate over 2 billion tons of municipal solid waste each year, a staggering amount, convicting our consumption habits and sheer volume of things we discard. It's enough waste to circle the earth with bin lorries dozens of times, a continuous convoy of refuse stretching across the globe. Most of this waste doesn't get recycled or composted. Despite growing awareness and efforts to promote recycling, a significant portion still ends up in landfills. Often hidden from view, located on the outskirts of cities or in remote areas, quietly accumulating. As cities grow, sprawling outwards and populations rise exponentially, the amount of waste we produce also increases. Consequently, our waste problem is only getting bigger, becoming a more pressing and urgent challenge with each passing year. Projections indicate that by 2030, just a few short years away, we could be producing a staggering 2.6 billion tons annually. An increase that demands immediate attention. The convenience of tossing things out, the ease with which we can discard unwanted items, contributes to the problem. It often disconnects us from the consequences of our actions, shielding our conscience from the environmental impact of our waste. Landfills aren't just a local issue affecting specific communities near these sites. They're a global crisis with far-reaching consequences, shaping our environment, impacting ecosystems, and ultimately influencing our future. Every discarded item, no matter how small or insignificant it may seem, adds to this legacy of waste. It's time to pull back the curtain and take a hard look at the reality of our waste problem. We need to understand where our rubbish really goes and the impact it has on the planet. Landfills aren't the end of the story. They're not a final solution. They're a critical part of our environmental challenge, a symptom of a larger problem that requires our immediate and sustained attention. By confronting the sheer scale of our waste, by acknowledging the magnitude of the problem, we can start asking the tough questions and exploring how to change our habits, how to reduce our consumption, and how to manage our waste more responsibly. Our relationship with waste must evolve from one of careless disposal to one of conscious management and reduction. This evolution is essential if we want to create a truly sustainable future for ourselves and for generations to come. Landfills aren't a modern invention. While the scale and technology have evolved dramatically, the fundamental concept of burying our waste is surprisingly old. For as long as humans have congregated in settlements, we've always had to deal with rubbish, discarded food, broken tools, and the byproducts of daily life. It all needs to go somewhere. For centuries, the simplest solution was often the most convenient. Waste was dumped in pits, often located on the outskirts of towns and villages. These were essentially open dumps, unregulated and often overflowing, or even more directly into rivers. Waterways served as a readily available, albeit highly polluting, means of waste disposal. The idea was simple: out of sight, out of mind. But the reality is that waste is never truly gone. It simply transforms and often creates new problems. As populations grew, particularly with the rise of cities, the volume of waste increased exponentially. These open dumps became significant health hazards, attracting disease-carrying pests and contaminating the surrounding environment. They became breeding grounds for disease, polluting water sources and posing a direct threat to public health. The lack of proper sanitation led to outbreaks of cholera, typhoid, and other waterborne illnesses. The Industrial Revolution only made things worse, introducing new types of waste and dramatically increasing the amount produced. Cities were quite literally drowning in waste, struggling to manage the sheer volume of garbage generated by factories and growing urban populations. The need for a better solution became increasingly urgent. The answer, or so it seemed at the time, was the sanitary landfill. This approach was first developed in the 1930s in California, representing a significant step forward in waste management practices. Waste was systematically compacted to reduce its volume and then covered with a layer of soil daily, a practice designed to minimize environmental impact. This process significantly reduced odors, controlled pests, and improved the overall aesthetics of waste disposal. This method quickly spread worldwide, becoming the standard for waste disposal in many countries. It was widely seen as a triumph of public health and urban planning, a way to effectively manage waste and protect communities from the hazards of open dumps. For decades, landfills seemed like the perfect answer to our growing waste problem. They were cheap to operate, relatively efficient at handling large volumes of waste, and conveniently out of sight, allowing us to ignore the problem, at least for a while. But buried waste isn't inert. It doesn't simply disappear. Over time, we've learned that landfills, despite their improvements over open dumps, create significant long-term environmental problems. The decomposition of waste generates toxic chemicals, a contaminated liquid called leachate, and harmful greenhouse gases like methane. These pollutants don't just disappear, they can contaminate soil, groundwater, and air with lasting effects on ecosystems and human health. What was once hailed as a solution is now recognized as a complex environmental challenge, demanding new approaches and innovative thinking. Our old approach to waste, relying heavily on landfills, is catching up with us, forcing us to confront the environmental consequences of our consumption habits. The legacy of landfills, with its potential for long-term pollution and environmental damage, is only beginning to surface, requiring careful monitoring and remediation efforts. We must rethink how we manage what we throw away, moving towards more sustainable practices like waste reduction, reuse, and recycling. A landfill isn't just a pile of bin bags, it's a complex mix of everything we discard. Municipal solid waste, food scraps, packaging, clothes, electronics, makes up the bulk. But landfills also take in commercial, industrial, and construction debris, cardboard, food waste, concrete, metal, and more. Hazardous materials sometimes slip through despite strict regulations. Old paint, batteries, chemicals. Each type of waste breaks down differently, releasing a cocktail of substances. The result? A dynamic, chemically active environment, not a static tomb. What goes into a landfill determines the risks it poses. Rotting organics, persistent plastics, and hidden toxins interact underground. This complex blend sets the stage for serious ecological problems. Understanding landfill contents is key to tackling their impact. Modern landfills are feats of engineering designed to contain waste and protect the environment. Sites are chosen for stable geology and distance from water sources and homes. The base is lined with compacted clay and thick plastic membranes to prevent leaks. A network of pipes collects leachate, the toxic liquid formed as waste breaks down. This liquid is pumped out and treated to avoid contaminating soil and water. Landfills also produce methane, a potent greenhouse gas. Gas extraction systems capture methane, which can be flared or used for energy. Despite these safeguards, no system is perfect. The challenge is keeping toxins and gases contained for decades to come. Leachate is the toxic liquid that forms as rainwater seeps through landfill waste. It picks up heavy metals, ammonia, and persistent pollutants, creating a dangerous brew. Modern liners and collection systems help, but they're not foolproof. If leachate escapes, it can poison soil, making land unusable for years. The real danger is groundwater contamination. Once polluted, it's nearly impossible to clean. Toxins can travel miles underground, threatening drinking water and ecosystems. Leachate pollution harms biodiversity, killing plants and working its way up the food chain. Small organisms absorb toxins which then accumulate in larger animals. This bioaccumulation can devastate local wildlife. The toxic legacy of leachate can last for generations. Preventing leaks is critical to protecting our environment. Landfills don't just pollute our water sources, they significantly pollute the air we breathe too. The environmental consequences extend far beyond what meets the eye. As organic waste decomposes without the presence of oxygen, a process known as anaerobic decomposition, it produces landfill gas. This gas is a complex mixture of different compounds. This landfill gas is composed of about half methane, a highly potent greenhouse gas, and about half carbon dioxide, another significant contributor to global warming. Methane is over 25 times more potent than CO2 at trapping heat within our atmosphere, exacerbating the greenhouse effect and driving climate change at an accelerated rate. This makes landfills major contributors to the global climate crisis, rivaling industrial sectors in their overall impact. The volume of waste we generate leads to a substantial release of methane. Unfortunately, many landfill sites lack proper gas capture systems and the necessary infrastructure to mitigate these emissions effectively. This deficiency allows vast quantities of methane to escape directly into the atmosphere, further intensifying the greenhouse effect. This invisible emission directly links the waste we discard to the accelerating effects of global warming, contributing to rising temperatures and extreme weather events. Landfill gas doesn't just vent into the air, it can also migrate through the soil beneath and around the landfill. As it migrates, it suffocates plant roots, depriving them of oxygen and creating barren kill zones where vegetation struggles to survive. The loss of vegetation has cascading effects, rippling through entire ecosystems and disrupting the delicate balance of nature. This destruction of plant life leads to the destruction of habitats crucial for insects, including vital pollinator species. The impact extends to birds, which rely on insects and plants for food and shelter, and to mammals, who face habitat loss and food scarcity. Furthermore, trace toxins present in landfill gas can further stress both wildlife populations and the health of nearby communities, creating a double burden of environmental and public health concerns. The air surrounding landfills becomes a significant source of ecological harm, impacting air quality and contributing to a range of environmental problems. Ultimately, our waste is not just filling up landfills, it's actively changing the global climate and fundamentally altering the land itself, leaving a lasting legacy of environmental damage. If we keep relying on landfills as our primary waste solution, the consequences are dire and far-reaching, impacting our planet in profound ways. Landfills consume valuable land resources, making it increasingly harder to find new sites as cities continue to expand outwards. Transporting waste farther distances significantly increases costs for communities and local governments. Even the best-engineered landfills will eventually fail over time, risking toxic leaks and environmental damage for future generations to deal with. Pollution stemming from landfills can haunt us for centuries to come, contaminating both land and precious water resources. More landfills inevitably lead to more air and water pollution, threatening not only human health, but also the delicate balance of local wildlife. Natural habitats continue to shrink, pushing vulnerable species even closer to the brink of extinction. This outdated linear take-make-dispose system is simply unsustainable in the long run. We absolutely can't keep burying our problems, because ultimately there is truly no "a way." The future isn't set in stone, it is still ours to shape. We can change course. The most powerful step is to create less waste, buy less, reuse more, and resist disposable culture. Recycling and composting keep valuable materials out of landfills and save resources. Composting organics turns waste into soil, not methane. We need better research, stronger regulations, and innovation in waste management. This is a collective responsibility. Every choice matters. By reducing, reusing, and recycling, we protect our planet and build a sustainable future. Together, we can break free from the landfill legacy.